So, hello everyone. My name is Thomas Sander, and I'm a gastroenterologist and a hepatologist working at the University Hospital in Aarhus, Denmark. So, it's a small country of 6 million people.
Hello, and welcome to the Wilson's Disease 2023 meeting. It's my pleasure to start off. My name is Fred Ascari, the director of the Wilson's Disease Center of Excellence at Michigan Medicine, and today is October 20th, 2023. First, I'd like to go over my disclosures because I'm involved with a number of companies doing research in Wilson disease. These include Orphalon doing clinical trials research funding, Vivette Clinical Trials Research Funding, Ultragenyx Clinical Trials Research Funding, ArborMed is a consultant, Alexion AstraZeneca Wilson Therapeutics Clinical Trial Research Funding, and advisory boards as above. In terms of questions and answers, we'll take those at the conclusion of my presentation, and I'll try and answer some questions live. Scroll down beneath the player window and submit your questions on the form. And please don't wait until the end to do so. Submit your questions as they occur to you, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. So in terms of the year in review, there were two big gene therapy trials underway in Wilson disease, one from Vivette and one from Ultragenyx. And these are very exciting. Alexion 1840 drug development was terminated by AstraZeneca. And this was the choline salt of tetrathiomolybdate. Obviously, that's a more disappointing development. And then another big highlight I'm just going to touch briefly on is that Orphalon has launched Puvrior in the US, which is a different formulation of Trientine, and they're involved in a clinical trial to further understand usefulness of serum copper assays in standard of care patients. So this is an illustration of what goes on with gene therapy. An AAV vector, in this case, for what's being studied in Wilson disease, is manufactured by one of these two companies, Ultragenyx or Vivette, and they both use slightly different subtypes of adeno-associated virus, and they both use slightly different gene inserts for the adenovirus vector. And here it's infused through a peripheral IV. The whole process takes under an hour, and the vector then goes through the blood, enters the liver, and then starts making protein. In this case, in this illustration, which I took from a ASGT teaching project, a functional factor 8 or 9 is being made and excreted in the blood to treat hemophilia, and hemophilia gene therapies have been approved already. So we're excited that Wilson disease is being studied following on these successes. As you can see from this illustration, the clotting factors circulate in the blood. In the case of Wilson's disease, the ATP7B gene is just going to stay right in the liver. Actually makes it a little simpler. In terms of the Alexion 1840 study, that was with choline tetrathiomolybdate, and Wilson Therapeutics was sold to Alexion and then sold again to AstraZeneca in 2021. And these are the companies that have really championed development of this through the clinical trials phases. It turned out that the FDA is interested in further mechanistic studies, and Alexion unfortunately told us that they're not going forward with further studies. And so the program was, the drug development program was terminated during the extension phase of the study, much to the disappointment of many people involved in the study. Obviously, not the least of which were the people at these companies, I might add. There's a phase 3 trial data that showed a lot of promise. Unfortunately, there just wasn't a path forward to getting the drug approved by the FDA that was expeditious. Alexion, the good news is Alexion is committed to publishing multiple further papers and sharing data from the choline TTM studies, so please stay tuned. Another exciting development has been that Orphalon has introduced Puvrior, which is a variant of Trientine, if you will. The trientine that we're most familiar with in this country is Cyprine, or its generic equivalents, and that's trientine dihydrochloride. In this case, Couvreur is a trientine tetrahydrochloride, so it's what's considered a novel compound in that sense. It's more stable at room temperature. From a patient perspective, it comes in 300 milligram tablets versus 250 milligram tablets, so may require some dose changes, or will require some dose changes in order to, line up similar doses. And Orphalon is also committed, as part of the drug development for Couvreur, to develop a better serum assay for copper, and they're currently doing a real life clinical trial in standard of care patients to see if this assay performs as well as it did in the clinical trials, and will be useful as a way of monitoring patients clinically going forward. So there's a bright future coming down the road for Wilson disease patients. Obviously, the current treatments are available, and now we have a question of whether there will be further choline TTM trials. We know it's not going to come from Alexion AstraZeneca, but there may be another company at some point that picks this up. We don't know. Obviously, it's a large expense and may have a smaller target population to treat, so that makes it more difficult than the ambitious projects that Alexion and Wilson Therapeutics and